Chance Championship berth. There is going to be everything on the line here. And if everything comes up Millhouse, I do believe that Salvi with a first place potentially could even sneak in that 5th spot.
We're not going to lie to you guys. The math is complicated. This final has been intense. It is close. But the two players we have to watch for sure. The man on your screen right now, Noel TFT, leading with 30 points. Tied with Lelouch.
All right, we'll of course be keeping our eyes out most closely for the last moments coming in. If you've only just joined us for the final game of the day, you have arrived at the perfect time. Our last lobby was full of fire and thunder. This one proves to be almost certainly the exact same thing.
Noel here has a Karma pair in his shop and a blue buff ready to go. Not saying it's going to be a Karma carry, it's definitely not going to be the case, but it could have been a nice item holder for that Karma as, as a holder point. But he's going to pick up the Astrals instead here as a, a nice little economic, potentially good thing. But again, depending on what he gets here, the final minion thing is always tricky, but it looks like it's going to be okay. Now you want the Karma pair, right? Yes, there we go. Karma 2 as well, with the Malphite on top of that. So has a strong start here in terms of like the pieces needed for that potential the Kaiser opener even, sorry.
Of course, we remember that Noel has put themselves into this pole position as a result of that previous game, ending out in first place. Our two German friends, or rather Sang and Brix, fighting out from the bottom of the table. They have both done very, very well. They just need to follow up with another strong performance. But first and foremost, Noel versus Lelouch. That is the most likely direct battle for the championship.
We're going to be watching for that as we go, but here it comes, the first augments of the game. Ooh. Nothing too spicy, just some silvers.
Build different one, not something that is really that desirable. Mage Heart can be good, but doesn't necessarily give you a ton of power. It does have a Spear of Showdown available, has a blue buff available. Electro Charge is the best catch-all augment just in terms of just raw ball strength, but this could even be a reroll here. Have all the time in the world. It is a risky strategy to go for here in the final game of the Rising Legends season. And it is going to be just a regular Electro Charge. It's going to keep a hold of that reroll. Don't see any way why you should reroll that in the first place. But Karma being at the front right now, instant level here for the Lagoon stuff. And now we're going to see the blue buff most likely being put on to that Kaiser here. Now look at this double. Has the free Shimmer Scale, and we can see it's going to be a needlessly big gem game.
And we know that from Double's point of view and from Coco's point of view as well, they need to finish this lobby in absolute top position to have any chance of getting hold of the championship for themselves. And of course, they need that Noel and Lelouch will finish very low. So again, the maths will be trying to work out as best as we can as we go. But our players will be keeping a very close eyes on each other, and we hope that you will too.
So, things to keep an eye out for here for people that have Shimmer Skill active are going to be very awkward, very weird leveling points here, because with needlessly big gem, you can very often find players going to level 5 to 2 just to guarantee as many surviving units as possible. And with that Ezreal 2 as well coming into play here, I wouldn't put it past it, but 14 gold is such a high gold amount to work with as well that Double can kind of do whatever he wants right now.
Hanging out on the beach as he is.
Well, absolutely. Got to make sure you're nice and relaxed heading into one of the biggest games. Of course, as we mentioned before, Double 61 having that big Worlds experience, the Worlds win behind them. Very unflappable in a crisis. But this is the time when everything is called upon. Let's get into these opening rounds.
Look at how rich Double is, though. He's 9 gold, can he go 10 despite having level to 5 on 2-2. He's making the most of this very low component but high gold opener and matching it with that Shimmer Scale crest.
We saw there Lelouch on the other side of the field. This is one of our big contenders for EMEA Dragonlands champion. Going to take a loss, but looking rather intentional, leading with an Olaf in the front line with that Titan's Resolve. Just going to get a couple of AD stacks on him. We'll see if he sticks with it, but in the meantime, pretty strong AD item holder.
Build your own Lux Lagoon starter pack here, Peter? I mean, it's not necessarily going to be a good thing, but, sometimes, you just got to skip the temptation.
Well, I mean, we talked about this all the way through this event. The ability to choose where you're going immediately does mean you end up with some shops which are really just seeming like they're taunting you for the telemetry to make that choice that quickly.
So, Dasek here is in a very precarious spot right now. He's 5th with 20 points. So he needs a top 4 finish to more or less guarantee himself a berth into the championship.
Let's see what Lelouch's got for us here. So, of course, they've got a pile of Astrals and a couple more hanging out on the bench. Of course, we have seen some pretty strong Astral starts so far. This is looking like it's more on the generous side than it could be.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the rest of the board as well, and we see Lococo going for Tiny Titans first, indicating potentially a very risky strategy of just full loss streaking as long as possible to create that economic engine and get the highest placement possible. Remember, 4th place, still within striking distance of being the EMEA champion, but in order to do so, he has to take that first.
Yeah, Lococo here with Tiny Titans, right? Could just be a way to try to guarantee yourself like a top 6 finish even, right? Like just one of those saying, you know, I can take 3 points, be at 27, that should be enough. Again, math is always a bit difficult, but again, even if Dasik wins, the highest amount of points he can be on is 28. And that kind of speaks volumes to different objectives different players are going to have going into this game.
All right, so we'll keep our eyes closely on how things develop. But now that we've got Carousel come in, we can see that Dasik and Solo Gasang have been the least committal with their items so far. Let's check in with Bricks, who is currently undefeated along with Salvi, Double, and Coco. Wait a second.
That's the Tiny Titans.
No.
Come on, Peter.
If it goes above 100, the thing is, I skip that class. I can't count past 100. They all just look like hundreds to me.
You just know the hundreds place. You never learn the tens and the ones. It's okay. I've been there.
So you never took 101s, then that's...
Hey, that was pretty good. Yeah. I like it. All right, let's get back into things and see if we can learn to count with our friends in TFT.
Bricks, of course, running similar items to what he was running on that Somme last game. Remember, he was going for that Jeweled Gauntlet, Morellonomicon, and the Spear of Shojin. So potentially going for a similar Lagoon-based comp to just try and secure himself that spot in either the Last Chance Qualifier or the Dragonlance Championship, because he is right on the edge.
And it's worth noting as well, as we've seen many times across many games, Shimmer is very popular in this game. Salvi, Coco, and Double 61 all dipping into that shimmering pool.
A lot of economy going to be coming out during this game. Remember, with that Shimmer, a lot of economic pressure down. You're going to see a lot of higher capped boards. You can afford those things, like the Dragon boards, like those 3-star forecasts. If you're getting really spicy, if you want to pull the Day 6 special, get that Xayah 3 on the board.
And we're starting to see a pattern here with Salvi, right? Very strong early game, stage 2, stage 3, he's full on, he's just chilling, everything is good in the world, but when we are going to be approaching the later stages of the game, he tends to fall off.
He's got a chase already at 2-6. I think he's going to be fine going into this next round. Just call it an inkling, yeah.
Well, Bricks, of course, no longer on their own win streak. We'll have to make do with just a little bit of grumpiness on Morellonomicon. And our friend Zeri at the back. Doesn't look like a comp that's going to be able to rip through Salvi and stop that win streak in attack. Hopefully we'll get a chance to see Double 61 as well, if the timing works out in these rounds, to see if they'll both go into stage 3 with a whole heap of cash.
There is a very minor thing that we need to keep an eye out for here, and I say minor because it's not going to be super likely, but Runan's Hurricane is best in slot on Twitch reroll. And with the setup with the early Jace, with the Gills, etc., with the Thieves Glove, which is a pretty good item in general, just to throw on something like a Jace, for example, later to the game. It's something that he needs to be open to, but might not necessarily be what brings him into the first place.
But that's one of those comps that from this position you have to start considering. Last on the leaderboards, 15 points. If you can guarantee a top 4 here, that's still a win. You get that shot at the Last Chance Qualifier instead of just going out with only the prize from this tournament to show for it.
So the objective for Salvi is to distance Solo Gasang by like 3 placements, and that means that as Solo gets above the 4th, there is just nothing to play for pretty much for Salvi. But again, he can just play for a good game. And speaking of a good game, Double 61, yes, he did lose a streak going into the Crocs, but he's 52 gold, level 5, still has Big Gem, has a lot of very nice items going for himself right now. Could even try to slam something like an ice cream cone just to kind of keep the tempo rolling for himself here. Goes level 6 despite the lack of streak, but he can go to 50 regardless and just start building up.
So Salvi, the only one maintaining that win streak after Double 61 took the L. Let's take a look across our economy, and as you said, Matt, there's a lot of gold and them there hills.
And we see here now on 3-1, Twitch 2 has been found. Varus is put onto the board. This could still just be a holdover point. We are not fully committed just yet. The augment here could be super deciding for that.
We're waiting for that for the next round. In the meantime, Salvi trying to defend his win streak, the only person left in the game with that coveted 100 streak as he slams the Infinity Edge to get an even better shot at maintaining it.
Of course, we know how good Salvi is. We know how good everybody who made it to the top is. Of course, it's worth remembering at a time like this, at the verge of the end of the tournament, how many incredible players did not even make it to the final day of play.
So DASIC's 4 streak here has been broken now. So Salvi, you know, the only with this streak, and that's why it's super important, because the level 6 here with DASIC in the pool means that right now Salvi has the strongest economic position in the game. And are you going to take the last stand? We saw yesterday, albeit on the previous patch to this one, in NA, we still see Liquid QMX actually take first without triggering his last stand.
I think from this position, you could argue gear upgrades would be huge. If he wants to go for that Twitch composition you were mentioning earlier, Wida, gear upgrades would be a massive way to cap out that board. Get those free components, get those best in slot items on every single unit you can.
I think he was fishing for just the guild heart with the way with the active traits here. He doesn't need to pick up this orb. He has the Twitch too. Remember what we talked about yesterday here. Optimization is going to be super important, especially in a spot like this.
All right, so let's see if you got what it takes to keep that win streak rolling up against Noel, who has got a scary-looking Kaiser on that back line. Of course, we know Kaiser will scale up during the round. You've now got an Archangels to double up on that scaling. All that requires is that the front line stays intact, and that doesn't seem like it's going to happen. We have got one more big cast coming out, but I think that's going to be pretty much it.
That's a pretty terrifying rat, if I do say so myself. As someone who's been to New York and has seen their fair share of rats.
Yeah, and we're looking at this here now. Early Deja for Solo Gasang here, as he is going to be on level 6. Look at the bench, though. Has a lot of options in terms of trying to approach that Mirage vertical here. Exiles as well is surprisingly strong augment when it is paired with something like the Mirages. And augment, time and time again, despite the personal stress it puts you under, performs incredibly well.
Yeah, I mean, a whole bunch of extra health, fantastic when you want to be putting out your big damage. But I want to take a small moment to mention from the Luge, double trouble coming in for them. Not an augment we've seen very much of at all. Fantastic to see something that's a little bit different here in our final game.
Coming into this combat round, Solo Gasang sitting very near the bottom of the board. It's not necessarily going for a lost streak angle either. With that Deja, with the Infinity Edge Jeweled Gauntlet, should have plenty of damage and be putting out a ton of pressure on anyone he runs into, which is unfortunate for DASIC. However, DASIC has picked up Last Stand as well.
Yeah, the last time, the last effort. And to a certain understanding, it might just be picked as an extra life, to be completely honest, right? Again, that could be the difference maker between a single placement. Yes, you might lose out on some combat power, but, you know, the final extra life, it could be triggering over again. You know, every little thing is going to matter here. Speaking of that, carousel opening up right here, right now.
And I think that really exemplifies the position DASIC is in right now. They are the middle of the pack player. I think they may well have, you know, we pick up the last stand there, given up on the possibility of pushing further up the table. They just want to make sure they don't slip further down.
Salvi still maintaining this win streak. We're headed towards 3-5. We've been talking all day, all weekend about how much economy matters, especially as we go deeper and deeper into this tournament. It just allows you to cap so much harder. And we're going to see, I think these are the pivotal moments, Wida, where we see if Salvi is in fact going for that Twitch reroll.
Yes, and I was in a position where I end up playing this comp while trying to play Saya, right? And again, if he feels like he's strong enough, you can see the level 7s are starting to come up around the board. And he can't just play this gear upgrades aspect as as a tempo play. And you know, we're kind of speaking about the fact you kind of have to find a middle ground going into Saya, and this Twitch 2 could very much be that middle ground.
All right, we'll see what Noel is up to. Of course, we did see a little bit before with now a 3-item Shimmer Scale Kaiser setup. We'll see if they can get a little bit more damage done early. Of course, on the other side, we've got double 61 with that needlessly big gem. Is surely going to be racking into the cash. We can see it's already above 50, so that will be a big buff, primarily for the Ezreal, who's the last one standing when Kaiser has a way with the front line.
Yeah, and Noel does not, in fact, have Shimmer Skull active right now.
Oh, no, you're right.
And that means that, again, it's not going to cost him in this fight specifically, but there's not going to be the Ascension damage coming through just yet. We'll probably need to go level 7 for that. Maybe can get it from an augment, stuff like that. We need to keep an eye out for. It's not going to be super integral. It's coming quite along nicely on the Shimmer Skull stacks here, right? And again, he's lacking a Jax, and that is the big thing right now. You look at the board here. Had this Nasus been a Jax, this Volibear been a Jax.
Looking down at the bottom of the current health totals, but the top of our points leaderboard, Lelouch on only 32 HP, not even hitting stage 4 yet. An incredibly dangerous position, starting off with this Olaf, sticking to it, and still not finding success yet.
We're looking at double again. We're looking at double up here, but with a board that doesn't seem like it's super built to take the best advantage of it. There must be something waiting to emerge here. Again, remember, Noel versus Lelouch is the main conflict going on in this lobby. But if we see potentially one or both of those players getting taken out early on, all bets are off.
What is with these early Sorakas? 3-6 for solo Gaston just happens to find another Soraka with a Deja.
I was looking into Mirage stats earlier on this weekend, and actually, when you have Soraka in place, surprise, surprise, your placement does start to go down as you get a better placement, which I think is pretty determined to the fact that just how good that is now. But 32 HP, as you were talking about, Matt, you're pretty far off anything that's going to resemble that Olaf Olaf 3. Even doesn't even have a second copy of Olaf on the board to get the value from the double trouble.
No, it seems like a very puzzling board indeed. But we also want to take a second to recognize Salvi is still undefeated. Yeah. It's of course an ironic situation indeed. Salvi's primary opponent in this lobby is the countryman, Solo Gasang, who is the one directly above them on the scoreboard. They are fighting to stay out of last. It's seemingly likely that only one of them is going to be able to manage it.
Let's take a look at what Salvi does here. 74 gold, just shipping it, like you said, Wida, all the way to level 8. Finds the Hecarim 2, finds the Xayah. Gotta be pretty happy with this position.
And as I mentioned, we have seen Salvi navigate this comp to a first place finish this weekend, if I do believe correctly. Not on screen and on our off-stream lobbies, so he is fully aware of the ins and outs. And that one with a Xayah 2 as well, right? Again, all these things are pending lobby strength, but he knows exactly what he needs to do right now.
All right, let's try and keep this good times are rolling. From day 6 side of things, we've got a strong backline with the Talia currently item carrying with the Archangels, and the Hand of Justice going to be very hard to put down. Of course, we're going to give it the old college try. Twitch, of course, with the guild gear upgrades, is hitting like a truck, and Salvi stays safe.
Here we come, 4 to the final augment of the tournament. This could decide the lives of a lot of our players, so we head over onto Lococo's board, see what he's up to. Unfortunately, not a great round for him.
No, but keep in mind here, he's going towards the Siphon Shiyu set up with the Tiny Titans as well. Needs a top 6 placement here. And these augments are kind of okay. Titanic Strength, not as good as before, but he's preparing for the reroll. It's going to come through, fill the hunt. Easy snap pick as well. And is he going to ship it to the level 8? He is going to do that indeed. Has that Jade Emblem as well, picked up from something. There might be a random tome drop on the Crocs, on the Wolves, as upgrades are coming off across the board.
We see 2 Graves 2 being picked up there. Dasik and Brix both contesting the unit. Double heading up to that level 8 mark. And we see Brix playing his tried and true composition as expected. Graves in the back, Zeke's on the Zeri, and a Protector's Vow for the Zac in the front line whenever he feels ready.
And do, of course, remember, Brix, a player who has been, not necessarily reliably, but when the call comes, has been incredibly dominant. Currently on 19 points. We're looking to try and maintain position. Luch is still teasing us with the possibility of one of our top players getting knocked out in 8th, but they're still putting up a strong fight here. We have got a 2-star Graves.
Finally found the RFC as well for Lelouch, so has the attack speed, has the range to keep that Olaf safe, and it looks like it may be enough to keep him alive for the time being, as that Graves has fallen, and so has Brix, down to just 35 HP, second to last on the health leaderboard.
And that is going to mean Lelouch now has built up that win streak now, actually, right? And that's going to be super important, because we're talking about is he needs to start applying the pressure from the bottom up the leaderboards, has to catch up to Noel.
Look at the top of the leaderboard. Salvi, 100 HP, full win streaking all the way deep into stage 4 with a Shyvana on the board. Twitch fully itemized, waiting for that Xayah 2 still, but this is a hell of a board even without her.
And it's a board that would love to have a guild emblem to be able to really turn one of these units into a powerhouse. Instead, we've got the gear upgrades, which means we're relying really heavily on Twitch to do a lot of damage. And this Twitch is nowhere near a 3-star.
It's going to be the fight against Lelouch. You're talking about the two win-streaking players taking it against each other right now. The battle here is going to be big. Look at the Olaf here. That's going to be the big factor to look into. No anti-heal being put into place. I mean, this Olaf is just continuously healing all over the place in combination. And just enough in time. No, that is going to be a big win here for Salvi, because sending Lelouch packing, breaking his win streak means he's that much more likely to finish first place.
Oh my gosh, we get to see the power of even a 2-star Twitch. You know, so vulnerable to being taken out if they ever take any aggro, but even for a 2-star, that DPS is off the charts.
It's going to be really frustrating there for Lelouch now on 23 HP. Once you get into that stage 5, take 2 losses. Hell, if it's bad enough, taking 1 loss can take you down. And Lelouch now having only that tiny pool, looking for an Olaf 3, while contested on the Olaf. It's looking rough for him, but great for Salvi and great for Noel.
This feels like such a meaningful game for Salvi. Of course, coming in as one of our Golden Spatula champions, you know, to be at the bottom of the table overall. I think this is a fight for their pride to end out the tournament on as strong of a win as they can, maybe even on the first place.
It's a massive turn here for Double Right. Finds the upgrade on the Idis, on the Deja as well here. And that should be the stabilization point, as he is going to be on 5 Shimmer Scale. 5 Guardian right now can probably clean it up if he needs to, if he feels like it. But with the remaining units that are Guardians right now are just holding on to some of those key pieces.
Just going to stick on that 10 gold point, running into Lelouch, who, like we said, top of the leaderboards.
Does have this second Olaf, so that double trouble does at least make a little bit more sense now. We are committing a lot of our eggs into the Olaf basket, but it's a pretty mighty basket indeed.
Yeah, so with Lelouch being one off, there's actually going to be an Olaf in the shop for double 61, but obviously cannot pick it up because he does need the Ascension boost coming through here. But this needs to be a massive hit. It's not quite going to be enough.
Beautiful round there for Lelouch, going to keep himself in the game, give him the chance of getting that Olaf 3. And once he finds it, remember, with that double trouble, he gets a second copy for free at 2-star, of course. But that's still going to provide a ton of damage, a ton of board power. And there he goes. Olaf 3 plus the copy. Lelouch has stabilized.
I mean, this is an incredibly hard Olaf to deal with. The Titan's Resolve, the double trouble, that's a lot of defensive stats, while also keeping them out of a direct conflict. Salvi has just lost their win streak, though, so that will take away some of the pressure on the lobby. And I think the new pressure is now coming from the bottom of the table rather than the top.
Speaking of the former bottom of the table, Solo Gasang finally has hit what he needed to make that Deja a threat. Now on a win streak, runs into Lelouch with that newly finished board. Olaf 3 just tearing through the front line. Deja's waves are not enough as Olaf rips straight through her and keeps Lelouch in the game for just a little bit longer.
And that is going to be the breaking off the streak here for Solo. He was slowly but surely starting to build up here. And remember, Solo is the one that really also needs a strong placement with the way Salvi has been playing as of right now. Another thing I want to highlight here, we saw the double. He had the emblem of the Shimmer Scales, but now he does have Salvagement as well, so he can kind of just flex around as we are entering the Dragon.
Just a regular old Treasure Dragon, not going to have to worry about Chaos or Order really flipping the game on its head, but great components available for these players. Lelouch can finally find some defensive items in that Warmogs here for his frontline Braum.
And do check, of course, the chat for the link to the AMD competition. Of course, again, you don't need to use the command yourself, just follow the link in the chat. I guess the question which I want to really put to you specifically, we've got the situation now developed with this double trouble Olaf coming in and causing ruckus. What kind of firepower could take down a beast of that strength?
I mean, pretty much like any other really massively high cap board, right? Again, all of that is going to come down to positioning, because we have seen it over and over again. Sometimes, those massive freestyle units, they might just be stuck on something in the front line for a while here. But speaking of being stuck right now, Dasig stuck on a Seraphine 1. Yes, he's going to be 2 copies away from the Seri 3, even just to have a little bit of extra utility coming through here. But this Graves 2 has to do so much work, and it's going to be a massive ask. But remember, he is still having to rely, he can still rely on that last stand.
Lelouch coming back once again, our current points leader, tied with Noel. Finds that Olaf 3, runs directly into Dasik, who, like you said, Wida, only has that Seraphine 1. Yes, the disarm is going to be quite the problem, but look at that back line. It's going to end up being the Olaf versus the Graves. Olaf tries to tear away. He will survive for now, but Lelouch loses the round down to just 14 HP.
Apparently we found our Giant Slayer. Oh my god, even a 2-star spec for damage was still enough. We have got another close fight though as Bricks goes down to 3. They're currently in 6th place with 19 points.
And this is going to open up, if Bricks falls, that is going to open up the entire lower part of the field, because he is currently like one of the wardens of a LCQ spot.
Yeah, I mean, we've got players on 20, 19, 18 points. It's so close. Salvi, of course, the lowest on 15.
If you look at this board, you look at this calm, it's something that Bricks has navigated so well throughout the entirety of the weekend. Seraphine 3, Graves 2, yet is still falling short.
Looking forward once again, Bricks, of course, at risk of being knocked out not only of this game, but of the tournament itself, fighting for that last place spot.
All right, let's get into another scrap. Bricks and Lelouch both very low. Keep your eye out, of course, for that Graves and for the Olaf. We'll see if Graves can do it this time round. A little bit more defensively oriented, this Graves, which means he does not have the damage to deal with the Beast Incarnate. Tearing down the doors comes the Viking, and down goes our first player. It is Bricks, and the doors are opened.
After Bricks' amazing performances in day number 1 and day number 2, he has been taken down in the final game of the tournament. And this means great things for Dasik, who is contesting him on that Graves composition, going for the Seraphine 3.
All right, dragons have arrived. We'll see if the Vikings are able to deal with something quite as fierce as that. Well, again, she said, up at the top, Lelouch is almost dead on 14 HP. That would be, of course, incredible news for Noel.
Yeah, look at this transition having been pulled off here. Still a little bit short, has an extra life to work with should he lose. But again, look at this board coming through from Salvi. Has transitioned over to that Sire 2 instead after finding the second copy of Twitch 2.
We'll see how the guild end up doing against the Dragons. Currently, the Aurelian Soul is going to be able to do a lot of work. That Celestial Blessing healing the A-Soul back up and buying more time. Xayah is still up though, looking for the big cast. It's not doing enough damage, and I think barely the Xayah stands. Does have to deal with one more ult out of Terra, which is going to be a lot of damage.
Oh my god!
Gets exploded.
And remember, this is with 1-star backline. Right, yes, Salvi's board is the one you're kind of gunning for right now. Double 61, all quietly, just streaking that we haven't seen him in a while. He is just living his best life right now. Lelouch picks up a Scale Scorn emblem is going to be a massive boon for his ability to scale this board into the later stages of the game.
And of course, to remember for the overall field, Bricks being knocked out in last really reduces the ability of Double 61 and Coco to leapfrog into first place and take the EMEA Championship. They needed Noel or Lelouch to go out in last.
Salvi, of course, we did see win streaking all the way nearly into this very stage, but now 51 HP, his position has gotten weaker. He's only on that Xayah 2, and yes, he has won lobbies with it before, but in a lobby as strong as this one, it's not looking good.
And the big thing is that there's no real attack speed steroid for the Xayah outside of the attack speed bonus from Twitch and the innate one within the Swift Shot and Rage Wing. Because he does need, and I feel like he would like to rework the Xayah should he have the opportunity to, the second he finds the Xayah 2, to put that Rage Speed. So keep in mind, this Rage is going to be staying on the bench for a while until he can move it out. Moves it on to the Varus for now because it's a disposable unit.
All right, let's see what Dace has got for us here. So remember, we've got the Giant slaying Graves. Has not been built defensively. It's just here for raw firepower. Now there is a dragon who's wanting to come for tea. Unfortunately for them, the Xayah's feathers fly in, and Salvi is going to get a big win at Dace's expense, driving them down the table.
Yeah, and again, remember, Dasik still hasn't activated Last Stand, so he's still yet to he's still yet to pull the final lever of the composition.
That ASO looking mighty terrifying as we move over to Lelouch's board, running that Soifin composition we have seen throughout the weekend, but frankly haven't seen succeed very frequently on stream when so many of our lobbies have been going to these hyper high cap compositions.
Keep in mind here, 2 players off the brink of elimination right now. And again, they're looking for those last few minor optimizations. Positioning here is going to be super important.
And every player that drops is a boon for Noel and Lelouch because it means that they have got their 6-point advantage remaining in place. And we've got them up against each other. You could not script it better.
Lelouch now trying to find his way into the backline. The Soraka, once she fires off, will keep that Shio Yu safe, but Zippy into the back. The Deja falls to the Siphon, and this Soifin composition is doing so much here, able to tear through Solo Gasong's board. Zippy, as much as I love you, you're not going to save Solo Gasong from that one.
Daisy got 5 HP. Now remember, last time still a thing. Lelouch is full streaking here as well. 28 HP on Noel, 14 on Lelouch. Those are the 2 most important ones to look into. But look at this. Daisy gets a Zephyr from the Sentinel here. This could be absolutely massive in terms of trying to swing some of these closer fights.
And we know when the front line is fully loaded, the Zephyr can ruin your day. We're all stepping closer and closer, though, to our 2 plot players, Noel and Luigi, going directly against each other.
This is super important here. Keep in mind here what Daisy is doing is he's trying to maximize the amount of the stacks here. He really does need to get the full things coming through just to try to find those last effort here to really elevate this comp.
Not going to be able to find.
Zeri
Oh,
3?
he will. The Zeri 3 comes in. The Seraphine.
Oh, but one of the Seeks gets popped off.
Oh, brutal. He has the item remover. He'll be
that's
good
good.
to find that solution. Second, Morel and Amakan. Not going to do a whole lot for him, though, I will say.
All right, Dasik, show us what you've got. Again, Dasik, the mid-point contender, as noted, Last Stand is still not activated, so there will be an extra burst of defensive stats, a little bit of Omnivamp as well, and 1 more round to survive with Lelouch and Coco more or less on a single life. They'll go up against Double 61, currently second in the lobby.
Look at this board.
Running this 3-dragon composition here for Double, looking incredibly powerful as the Shyvana dives into the back line, finds the Graves as well, but her focus remains on Zeri. Graves, uncontested, around the side, firing away at that Shyvana as she breathes into him and breathes her last as Graves stays alive. Double takes a loss.
This is not even Dasik's final form. That's the wildest thing about this board right now. It's just staying alive for such long here as the Coco. Mission accomplished for him, right? Like, he finished in 6th place. That was kind of what he needed to do to guarantee himself a good finish, as if I've done my math correctly, that is here. But again, speaking of good finishes right now, Noel and Lelouch, they're coming ever so close as Noel is slowly but surely struggling to find this board.
Like you mentioned, Wida, Noel and Lelouch coming into this one with 30 points, highest out of any players in the lobby. Either one of them could walk away from this as the Rising Legends Dragonlands champion.
And that has been quite a path our players have walked through fire and flame, through Super Brawls, through Golden Spatula Cups, from the ladder itself to get
Zephyr's
to
good.
this day. We've got the Zephyr knocking up the main damage source of Noel's composition. This could be a disaster.
Here comes the frontline. Terra doing her best to stay alive. The heals not going to be enough. Asol has to fire away, find the damage into the back, gets Graves down to half, needs 1 more ultimate, but gets taken down. Noel barely survives.
That is a very narrow miss. Again, the player watching this with the most interest is Lelouch, tied on 30 points with Noel. If they can dispose of Noel in the bottom 4, then this is as good as done.
Difficult composition here for Noel to cap out. Already has the 2-star of the front line, but not going to be able to find the Shyvana or the Idis. No gold left to work with.
I mean, like, you're talking about, like, this is a struggling again with these 4 dragon boards. Yes, you can get to level 9 quite effectively, but having to find those dragons, especially when they're contested all over the lobby in general, is going to be quite the difficult task here. The final few bits of optimization coming through.
Oh, what? Noel ends up with a very, very last second switch. They've, of course, got to deal with Lelouch and this incredibly powerful Shyvana. A good hit across most of the board. will come dropping down to deliver the firepower. Unfortunately, none of it's headed towards this Aurelian Soul. The auto attacks won't do an absolute ton. The casts are good. Again, the Celestial will keep up the Soul. The big black hole is beckoning, but it's not good enough. We've still got the dragons in the mix. And Noel barely survives.
And that was a ghost board of Salvi. Lelouch takes a loss here. He's down to 2 HP, 5 HP different. Remember, Noel has to rocket 2. That's 3 extra HP. Should they both lose the next fight, that could be the decision factor here.
Yeah. Oh my god.
This is very likely to be the last carousel of the game. Salvi looking in pole position and looking like a strong contender to be able to end this lobby in first place, but that will not secure him the title of Rising Legends champion. That is to be decided between Noel and Lelouch.
Jace 2 found here. All these upgrades, they do really matter, Peter.
I mean, as our upgrades do come in, it's crazy to think that our 2 top players are separated by so few HP. It's absolute nail bite. You can see both of them on either side of your boards. The double up Olaf on one side, the positioning, of course, hypercritical.
And it's worth noting here as well, the Guardian emblem is going to give a little bit of extra healing across the board, make this board stay alive for a little while longer as well. There's going to be a super nice pickup here coming through.
Now, double 61 trying to knock out the contender Noel, who slams down his last item. Aesol starts by firing away. The front line still holding strong for Noel as Shyvana dives in to try and contest. Aesol fires through. Yasuo looking to pressure him, finds the knock-up in the middle, but the front line holding strong for Noel, and this Aesol pumping out so much damage. Lands, he's down, and now it's up to the Terra to keep Noel's dreams alive, but the Yasuo looks like it's gonna take him down and ruin his chances as Lelouch survives.
Gonna have to settle for second place. Oh my gosh, Noel not even making the top 4. Oh, this has been ridiculous. We're so close here. Salvi again looking to salvage their honor in this final game. They look so close to doing it. Dasic holding on by a single HP. Lelouch by 2. You could not ask for a closer final game.
I mean, what a game, to be quite honest, right? And again, it's a question. Okay, Lelouch.
The randomized positioning battle.
We love it. Optimization for sure.
Yeah, again, we see Dasic here now has that last stand active. Could be the deciding factor for him to win this game out overall, right? We get to see a last stand really take into full effect and be the deciding factor in a game. Ooh. But again, Lelouch, you know, you got to give it to him. A fantastic performance all throughout the entire weekend as he will be going out in 4th in this game here. The final battle between Salvi and Double going places right here, right now, though.
Yeah, all Lelouch really cared about was finishing ahead of Noel, and they've absolutely done that. But we've still got Salvi and a double 61 in the mix. Dasic holding on as well. Salvi takes the L, but stays alive, and Dasic stays on 1 HP.
This PvE round could decide who's going to win this one out.
Yeah, another Rift Herald here again, a nice little redemption here again. I want to highlight something as well. Remember when I pointed out the fact that we had the Shimmer Scale emblem as well as the Salvage Pin? Looking at KC double 61's board, there was a Tactician's Crown on the bench being generated through that measure.
All right, let's get our final items in. Our final battles concluded as we are so very close to closing out here the EMEA Regional Finals. Still looking to try and determine those final few spaces.
And another Seeks Herald for Dasic. Again, I feel like we've seen this before, right? Just Seeks on Seeks on Seeks. But this guy, Sirakatsu, could be a pretty big thing in terms of both the HP gain, but as well also just the extra healing within these fights, right? Because you can keep that Yasuo alive for as long as possible. Well, we have seen the power coming through here. And these guys all around are just quite strong. And again, the big factor here to worth remember as well is that Salvi needs to fight for it all right now. I don't even know if he's able to get into the 5th position by finishing in the 1st place, but something he just has to gun for it.
All right, Salvi, show us what you've got. Again, the battle for pride will be going up against Dasic, who's doing exactly the same thing. The promise of the world's placement as the Hecarim goes up into the skies. Of course, going to be joined by the big old Dragon's Descent to knock the whole board in twain. Xayah gets exploded, but Graves follows much the same way. Shyvana stands amidst the wreckage, the smoking ruin. A breath courses over all, and Dasic is out of there.
Double 61, and last chance to stay alive. It is down to the two of them, Double or Salvi, who will take home the last game of the Rising Legends Finals.
Worth noting here, Lekoko, 27 points overall, I do believe right now with that 6th place finish. Salvi will go into 27 if he does win this, if he takes 2nd place, but he goes to 28 if he wins this. Everything here is going to matter a load here to Salvi. But you look at the boards and it's going to be quite hard. There's no more verticals for him to discover. There's just nothing there.
It's up to the Shyvanas now, the huge CC makers, the difference makers, the damage dealer for Salvi, as Double has his last chance to win on a high. Finally, Shyvana rages down from Salvi into the back line, landing on the Deja and letting loose in the middle of the board, firing away into the back. Only Deja remaining as the damage threat, but there goes the Shyvana. Saya trying to fire away against the might of Deja, but she takes it.
This is
One more hit. No, Salvi reigns supreme in the final game.
It was a battle for pride, and Salvi can leave the regionals with at least that taste of success. Going down fighting, going out with a first.
Oh boy, man. What? Like,